Hello everyone, it's Haley. So in this video we're going to talk about the next lunation coming up, which is going to be the full moon and also the first lunar eclipse of eclipse season in the sign of Libra. And so this is a really interesting chart, so we're just going to dive in. And so some of the main themes that I kind of think might kind of arise around the time of this lunation, which I'm just checking the date, is the 5th of April, so very, very soon. And the sun, which is conjunct Chiron in this chart in the 6th house, is opposing the moon, as is true in all full moons. And this is also a lunar eclipse. And the moon is going to be in the sign of Libra. And so kind of some themes around interpersonal dynamics, projection, hidden resentments coming up, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. The theme of boundaries, which is a very kind of popular dynamic to be talking about, I think, generally in the zeitgeist right now. Information coming to light, kind of ego struggles, feeling like we need to struggle to get our needs met. And so for this chart, there's a Scorpio rising chart for the exact time of this lunation, and so that means that the chart ruler is going to be Mars, and Mars has just entered Cancer in this chart. And so Mars is debilitated in Cancer. It's not the sign that it does the best in, or I guess another way of thinking about it is when Mars enters the sign, kind of his vigor and ability to kind of play out this warrior archetype and get things done is a little bit challenged by this kind of like moist, like womb energy of Cancer. You can just kind of imagine just kind of putting like a ball of fire into this like milk bath. Mars does not, I guess, it's not that he can't do his job necessarily, but you can find that the ego energy kind of has to circumvent things or go like roundabout ways of getting our ego energies met, and kind of, which can turn out to be passive aggression, not necessarily sneaky, but just kind of like using sweet things, but kind of like get like backhanded like insults that are framed as a compliment, or just kind of needing to kind of go around conflict, which can create kind of an explosive thing if we're kind of stuffing things down, or feeling kind of frustrated in that way. And then again, the sun, Chiron, and Jupiter in Aries in the 6th house can kind of point to this kind of frustrated ego energy of kind of like a grandiose self that kind of feels like it's at odds with other people, which I feel like is a theme that has been arising a little bit about how we are in conflict with other people, and how we kind of have to struggle and really make things happen. And additionally, we have this stellium in Taurus as well. There's a huge concentration of energy. The 7 traditional planets are all either in Pisces, Aries, Taurus. We have Mars in Cancer and the moon in Libra. And so there's a lot of concentration of energy at the beginning of the zodiac. And again, I can't overstate this enough, this really weird vacillating energy between winter, spring, death, birth. Like there's a lot concentrated at the beginning, so we could find that we're really, all of the ingredients are really coming together in order to just like pioneer this new start. But then with the Libra Aries dynamic, like how do we meet our needs in partnerships? How are we engaged in relationships that honor our needs? Just kind of this age-old kind of archetypal struggle, which is reflected in Aries and Libra. And how do we get our needs met? Is it by being diplomatic? Is it by just kind of throwing off other people's opinions and kind of just full steam ahead? And then again, with this Taurus stellium, we have Mercury, Uranus, and Venus all in Taurus in the 7th house. And so this kind of just like volatile stirring pot of relationships. And this would possibly, if you could avoid it, maybe wait to sign any sort of contracts. There's kind of a little bit of, again, volatility, instability, kind of shock factor here that could, like, if you do, make sure obviously you read the fine print, all of that good stuff. But yeah, conflicts coming out. redefining relationships, so finding that we cannot be in relationships in the way that we have been. So if we're not leaving or kind of setting those boundaries, we might be redefining the terms on which we're willing to be in relationships. Kind of this kind of theme of open relationships and thinking about the institution of marriage in a new way, and how there could be alternative ways of relating would be a big theme that I see. Additionally, themes around like psychic content, subconscious kind of coming up, ways that we've denied ourselves things for whatever reason, and kind of that could come out as kind of projecting onto other people and feeling like other people are really preventing you from doing what you want. But at the end of the day, I mean, we do live with other people and there's complex forces at play, but just kind of being mindful is kind of this conflict arising from something older, something that's not coming up just around April 5th. Like something's probably been brewing for a while. If there's just kind of this like rage or just huge feeling of resentment coming up, that the self and its needs are being challenged. And then the last thing I'll say before I start shuffling, get some tarot cards to get some more specific messages. So we have Saturn, which has entered the sign of Pisces, and then we have Neptune at the end of Pisces. And in this lunation chart, this Libra full moon, they're framing the 5th house. And so kind of, it's really interesting to think about how Saturn is entering Pisces as Neptune is not leaving, because it's an outer planet, it's going to be there for a while, but kind of they're framing these, they're kind of bookending the sign of Pisces and kind of thinking about our hobbies, our pastimes, our free time, and kind of some feeling like we need to evaluate that with Saturn coming in, kind of some hard realities around if how we're using our time is working, if our kind of where we're sourcing pleasure, like fun pursuits, if that's working, and kind of feeling like the old places where we used to get a lot of satisfaction, now there's just kind of this like Saturnian heaviness to it, where it's like, oh, there's some sort of consequence, or the old things aren't working anymore. It's a bit of like bulling this huge, not huge, but this Taurus stellium in the 7th house can be a bit of like bull in a china shop type energy, especially also with Mars in Cancer. That can be like bull in the, like, yeah, again, china shop, or like lace, or just someone like carrying some milk cartons you can think of, and then someone just kind of like smashing them on the pavement. Like there's a lot of themes around kind of more abrasive energies going into what is typically like a very nurturing place, like where things need a little bit more tending. Are we kind of just trying to take a really hard grasp to it in some sort of way? Okay. What are some of the messages for the Libra full moon? What are some of the themes that might arise for us? It's Libra full moon. What are some of the messages that can clarify how we can work with this energy? Okay, I think we'll start with this. We have 5 cards. And so we have the 9 of Pentacles upright. We have the Ace of Pentacles also upright, kind of speaks to this concentration of energy in the sign of Taurus. The Pentacles are kind of ruled as a suit, they're ruled by Earth. Then we also have Death upright. We have the Hermit reversed. And we have the 7 of Cups reversed. Okay, let's see. I guess what's immediately kind of jumping out with death, with the Ace and the Nine of Pentacles, again, this kind of issue of redefining how we relate to Venusian, Taurian things, how we relate to the senses, embodiment, how we honor the self in relationships, and kind of a big cycle being closed, which I feel like is just kind of a broader wave of energy that we're riding. I also forgot to mention that Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius in this chart, so it has officially entered the sign. It will retrograde back through Capricorn before being in Aquarius for the long haul, but and with all full moons, and especially because this is the first eclipse, kind of themes around release, letting cycles come in and letting cycles come out, and of course we have to let things come out before they can come in. And again, with this full moon happening across the 6th and the 12th house axis, themes around mental health, physical health, especially with Aries, that can literally be like the head. Let's see. Again, with Mercury pretty tightly squaring Pluto, information coming to the surface in kind of scandalous ways about how like a veneer, a surface, an image of luxury, some of the darker truths behind that, that pursuit of power. And with the Hermit reverse, this can be either kind of like a very inward reflective energy, and also kind of with this huge pile up in Taurus in the 7th house, kind of like we're, again, moving from this kind of winter hibernation period into this more outward facing spring expression of like we're ready to face the world again. Or maybe if we've been feeling a little bit isolated from other people and feeling kind of alone, and kind of, again, this heavier kind of emotional, spiritual, mental energy of feeling alone, that we're kind of looking to the light that is around us and the people that could potentially support us. And this could also just be like really exciting encounters with people, which again could be exciting in the way of like frustrating, but also just like, this could be a really good time just to like look around and kind of see if flowers are coming up, or just kind of let invigoration and fresh things come in. If we've noticed that we kind of have this stale kind of winter energy of hibernating in a way that isn't restorative and isn't kind of that isn't the most supportive that it could be. Like if there's a difference between like being isolated in a way that's not nourishing and a way that is, obviously. So that's only for us to determine. And then lastly, with the 7 of Cups, again, this can be just kind of this like energy of overwhelm. Like again, with all of this energy at the beginning of the zodiac, in kind of the initiatory energy of Aries, and then also the fixed energy of Taurus, where we're starting to actually implement a lot of these new things. And there's kind of this wave, this crest of energy. All planets are direct to implement a lot of these new things. And there could just be this feeling of overwhelm, like overwhelmed by all this information, by with a lot of kind of like aspirational self things, like how the person that we want to grow into. And we could be kind of hitting this point of kind of the woundedness of always aspiring to be more and have more, and just kind of, just being with where we're at and simplifying if possible, Taurus, like very much streamlining things, making less choices, so it's a little bit easier on us. Let's see if there's anything else that wants to come out here. I guess I'll see if anything else. Yeah, there's this kind of this stark contrast between like simplicity and just like this complex like accumulation energy that could feel kind of dark. So I feel like just that discernment of like things being illuminated of, is this in integrity? And why do I, this like image of abundance that looks really great on the surface, but is actually kind of making things more complicated than they need to be, if that makes sense. Okay, again, 4 of Pentacles, more Pentacles energy, also reversed. As you can see, this kind of like hoarding energy of feeling like I need to protect what's mine, kind of this kind of contraction energy. So just being very mindful again around our boundaries and what we are and aren't open to, not in a kind of harsh, kind of like F everyone way, but in a very flexible way where it can change, and we're communicating like, hey, this little resentment is bubbling up and I just want to let you know, you don't have to do anything about it, but this is just something that's coming up for me, and maybe I need some space, again with the Hermit reverse, but also like, is the space that we're taking, are we doing this in a way that's kind of like so we can just like be alone, and kind of this weird hoarding energy of like just kind of like squirreling some nuts away and then not wanting anyone to touch it, and then saying like, this is just how I can protect my peace, but it's kind of perpetuating cycles of not escapism, but just this kind of like very insular clanish energy, again with Mars in Cancer, which is trining the ascendant of this lunation. So just kind of like being mindful about kind of clannishness, like protecting what's mine, and just kind of, if we can, I mean, it's such a age-old, always good medicine just to be in nature if possible, just feeling the sun, because there's kind of this heavier energy with death and even the Hermit reversed. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Love to hear what you guys are noticing coming up around this full moon as we enter eclipse season. Also, I forgot to mention, so the north and the south node of the moon, they're always in retrograde, they're always moving in reverse. And so we're moving out of eclipses occurring in the sign of Taurus and Scorpio and into the Aries Libra axis. So again, these kind of relational and self themes kind of coming up and more prominent. So yeah, if you'd like to book a natal chart reading with me and we can talk about your incredible natal chart, ooh, is that English, that you came through with, feel free to reach out at projectvenusrising, which all that information will be in the description box below, and we can find a time that works for you. So yeah, have a beautiful day.